There's a moment in every interrogation when the amateur detective makes their fatal mistake. They ask the obvious question. The direct accusation, the confrontation they think will break their target. And the liar smiles. Because they've been waiting for this moment their entire deceptive life. Every skilled manipulator understands a fundamental truth about human psychology. When you lie repeatedly about the same thing, that lie becomes your greatest strength. They've rehearsed it, perfected it, polished every word until it gleams with false sincerity. The rehearsed lie flows like water. Smooth, confident, utterly convincing. But here's what separates the FBI from amateur interrogators everywhere. They never attack the fortress. They never assault the prepared position. Instead, they understand that every rehearsed lie creates a fatal vulnerability. The more prepared a liar is for your direct questions, the less prepared they are for everything else. This is the rehearsed deception trap. It's about to change how you see through lies forever. If you're finding value in this, hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Every lie is a house of cards. And like any structure, it has blueprints. When someone constructs a false narrative, they follow predictable patterns. Patterns we can exploit. The liar's first instinct is to rehearse the core story. The main event. The alibi. They memorize times, locations, key witnesses. They polish these details until they shine. But here's what they never realize. Every rehearsed story has borders. Boundaries. Dead zones. Beyond those boundaries lies the architecture's weakness. The unscripted territory. Think of it this way. A liar rehearses the main highway of their story. But they never map the side streets, the back alleys, the forgotten corners. This creates what FBI interrogators call narrative gaps, holes in the construction. The stronger the rehearsed core appears, the weaker everything else becomes by contrast. They've spent all their cognitive resources building the perfect center. Nothing left for the edges. And that's exactly where we strike. Not at their strength. At their architectural blind spots. Because every liar makes the same fatal assumption, they think you'll stay on their highway. Next we'll explore how to overload their system entirely. The cognitive load theory that breaks them. Building on what we covered about the architecture of lies, let's dive into the science that makes it all work. The FBI discovered something revolutionary about how our brains process deception under pressure. It's called cognitive load theory, and it's the secret weapon that exposes every lie. Here's the brutal truth about your brain when you're telling the truth versus fabricating a lie. When you recall something that actually happened, your brain operates on autopilot. Memory flows effortlessly because it's already stored, processed, and indexed. But when you're constructing a lie, your brain becomes a battlefield. You're simultaneously creating fiction, monitoring your story for consistency, and watching for reactions. This mental juggling act consumes massive amounts of cognitive bandwidth. Your brain has limited processing power, and lies devour it completely. This is why unexpected questions create cognitive overload in liars. When you throw them off their rehearsed script, they don't have enough mental resources left. Their carefully constructed facade begins to crack under the cognitive pressure. Now you understand the science behind detection, but knowing when to strike with the right question is everything. Building on what we covered about cognitive load, there's a precision weapon that cuts through every rehearsed story. The peripheral detail attack. It strikes where liars are most vulnerable. Every lie has a rehearsed center. But the edges, the tangential details, that's where truth bleeds through. Here's the exact structure. Instead of asking what happened, you ask about the periphery. What was playing on the radio? What color was the receptionist's shirt? Who walked by during the conversation? Liars rehearse the main event. They never rehearse the background noise of reality. Truth-tellers recall these details effortlessly. They live the moment completely. But liars? They stumble. They create. They guess. And that's when you know. The power lies in the randomness. Ask about sensory details they couldn't have planned for. Temperature in the room. Sounds from the hallway. The texture of surfaces they touched. These aren't just questions. They're surgical strikes against fabricated narratives. Because while lies are constructed, memories are lived. And lived moments have texture. Master this technique, and you'll watch fabricated stories crumble under the weight of missing details. Building on what we've covered, we now enter the master level of deception detection. The FBI's most devastating weapon isn't what you'd expect. It's the reverse chronology technique. And it destroys every fabricated story. Here's why this works. Truth-tellers can navigate their story in any direction. But liars? They've rehearsed one sequence. Forward only. When you force them backward through their timeline, the house of cards collapses. Next, environmental detail probing. This is surgical precision questioning. Ask about lighting conditions, temperature, background sounds, specific objects in the room. Truth creates rich, consistent environmental memories. Lies create empty spaces. The final pattern. Emotional state verification. This cuts to the core. Real experiences create genuine emotional imprints. These can't be faked convincingly. When someone describes a traumatic event with perfect emotional detachment, red flags emerge. These three patterns combined create an interrogation system that few can navigate while lying. But there's one final protocol that brings everything together into an unstoppable truth extraction method. Now comes the moment of truth. You've learnt the theory. You understand the patterns. Time to execute the complete FBI extraction protocol. Step 1. Establish baseline behavior. Observe their natural speech patterns before applying any pressure. This is your control group. Step 2. Deploy the peripheral detail attack we covered. Watch for that telltale hesitation, the micro-expressions. The cognitive overload begins. Step 3. Apply progressive pressure through inconsistency mapping. Each contradiction becomes a weapon in your truth extraction arsenal. Here's what happens when a liar realizes they're trapped. First, denial escalation. They'll repeat their story louder, more forcefully. Next comes deflection, desperation. They'll attempt to shift blame, change subjects, or attack your credibility. This is panic mode. Then emotional manipulation. Tears, anger, or victim playing. They're throwing everything at you to escape the truth trap they've created. Finally, the collapse. Partial admissions. Story modifications. The careful construction of lies crumbles under cognitive pressure. Victory. But skilled liars fight back. They'll use your own techniques against you. Mirror your body language. Fake emotional responses. Counter-manipulation detection. Watch for overcompensation. Fake emotions are always too perfect, too timed, Too convenient. Advanced liars will create false inconsistencies. To waste your time, stay focused on core contradictions. Don't chase every rabbit hole.